Thank you for talking to us tonight. It is a really big pleasure to have you in our show.
Hello, all my friends in Korea.
What are your prospects for the future Ukraine-Russian war?
I think that there is a balance of force between the two main protagonists, and for the time being, nobody wants to make any concession.
How you can get a negotiated settlement when all the parties are so deeply committed to winning the war.
How about the possibility of Ukraine winning this war?
I find it hard to imagine the Ukrainians actually pushing the Russians out of the territories that they've conquered and winning the war. Furthermore, if that does begin to happen, the Russians begin to lose on the battlefield at the conventional level, I think the Russians are likely to turn to nuclear weapons.
The key is not in Kyiv. The key is in Washington. Because if Joe Biden tell to Zelensky, okay, we will continue to help you, but please go to negotiate because otherwise we will stop to send you tanks and to send you money and to send you military equipment, Zelensky will be agree to negotiate.
Western support, such as sending tanks and maybe even jets, can end war as a game changer.
Western weapons, Western technology, Western training are all a necessary factor, and also Western intelligence. I think there's a lot of support to Ukraine. These are all important factors enabling Ukraine to continue to fight and in the end to take back the territory which was taken.
They're giving a handful of tanks, but a handful of tanks don't matter very much. Now you might say, well, we should give the Ukrainians fighter aircraft, but you're not going to give them too many fighters, number one. Number two, it's going to take time to train Ukrainian pilots. But number three, and most importantly, the Russians have the most sophisticated ground-based air defenses in the world.
And if Russia was not a nuclear power, of course, we will send troops in Ukraine. But it's the limit. The deterrence is working, and Russia is a nuclear country.
And who do you think will be the actual winner of this war in the end?
They have restored their leadership towards Europe, and even countries like Sweden and Finland, who were out of NATO during Cold War, want to join NATO now. And they sell more weapons to European. All European countries are increasing their military expenditures to buy US weapons and to buy US gas and US oil.
In the end, the biggest loser from this war is going to be Russia. To become a pariah state, which can no longer trade with the West, which it needs.
Estimates are that it will take at least $1 trillion to rebuild Ukraine. And I don't believe that Ukraine will be rebuilt in any meaningful way by the West over time. So I think Ukraine is going to suffer greatly. It's unlikely that the two sides are going to reach a meaningful peace agreement. I think there is a good chance that this war will end up with a Korean solution. What you would have is a frozen conflict similar to what you have along the 38th parallel. Ukraine would be divided between Russia on one hand and Ukraine itself on the other.
When everybody will be exhausted, maybe it will be less catastrophic scenario possible.
I see. Neither country will want that scenario to happen, but if the war will last too long, extended for too long amount of time.
Exactly, because of course it is impossible to accept at the beginning, but when your desire to have more are just out of reach, maybe you come to a more realistic approach.
I'm sure that diplomacy will have to play a role at some point in future, but I don't see an end to this war unless we have the solution of Ukraine regaining its territory.